audience because I was quite late coming into the program, but hopefully it's not a reflection on people not caring about accessibility. So, yeah, my name's Caitlin Mulgrew, and I work for Drake Music Scotland. 20 years and ran thousands of workshops with disabled people. Um, and yeah, basically, we work with disabled composers and music creators and musicians in all capacities. Um, we've got a create team, so we support um, like deaf, disabled, neurodivergent composers to pursue their own path in music. We use the social model of disability. So basically, the social model of disability is different from the medical model. It's developed by disabled people and argues that people are disabled by environmental, organizational, and attitudinal barriers in society rather than their impairments. So it puts the onus on society rather than the person themselves. This little cartoon kind of illustrates that point. So either you try and get somebody to get up those stairs in some way, or you make a ramp. Yep. So I just looked this up. So basically, it says that 52 to 68% of disabled people avoid live music events due to poor accessibility. And there's many other sort of key statistics there, but I think to sort of address this point with the negative and then move to the positive is a good way to do it, because to see why there is the need for change. Yeah. So barriers for disabled audiences are physical barriers, lack of ramps, lifts, accessible toilets, poor sight lines, and inaccessible viewing areas. Economic barriers. So we always say that if you use the word disabled, you can add a zero at the end, and that will be the cost of what you're dealing with, because that's the situation. So information barriers, accessibility, info is often missing or unclear, and social barriers, feeling unwelcome and unsupported. So that's the negatives. So here's some positives that we can look at. So the purple pound is basically the amount of money that is untapped within the disabled community. It's a £446 billion opportunity. So a lot of times I work at the creative access team, and a lot of times I get people asking me, what can we do to be more accessible? And usually they say, we can't spend any money at all. So what can we do for free? And obviously I understand that we're also a very small organization, but I think you've got to kind of look at it as you've got to spend some money to make some money. Yeah. So if you make one change, it could bring in a massive amount of more people, and also just makes your place more accessible and a cooler place to be. Yeah. So good access. What does it look like? So step-free. This is the ideal. We all know it's not the situation, but this is sort of what we're hoping for in the future. So step-free access everywhere. Accessible and changing places toilets. Viewing areas, companion tickets, and this being like an easy process. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago, I spent 6 hours trying to get my brother a wheelchair accessible ticket to go to a gig. That's 6 hours I won't get back. And that was actually with the accessible team. So, yeah, we've got a long way to go. Make it easy, because it's quite tiring. So yeah, clear online info with lots of photos, and and train staff, and improvising when you can't do these things perfectly. Improvising is the main word of accessibility, because we know that we can't always do everything. Leads me on to toilets. I talk about toilets all the time. So changing places toilet is different from an accessible toilet. It has a hoist, a bed, and for people that don't actually use the loo, they have a pad. Um, the whole shebang is pretty pricey, so it kind of prices people out of actually doing that. But the Modern Art Gallery in Edinburgh is improvised with a porta cabin version, and they've made a little ramp, and it's outside. A lot of the time people say it's a listed building, we can't do anything. But if you put it outside, then you've got more options. And then an even more improvised version recently had an artist performing at Hidden Door, and that is a massage table and a portable hoist. So that's an even more improvised version. So somebody can go to the loo, because I always say, if you can't go to the loo, you can't participate. Yeah. This PowerPoints are not my thing. I think you can all agree. So basically, these are some ideas. The perfect is the enemy of the good. Now, I think we can see from me knocking up this PowerPoint this morning that it's not perfect, but it's better that I did something and that I'm here. So I think the idea is basically try something. Talk to disabled people that you know, listen to what they have to say, improvise, be open, be creative, because I think creative people are the best people for this kind of job, you know, because we're used to, you know, working around problems. This ramp is, I don't work for Speedy Hire, but they can rent you a ramp for £20, 99 pence for a week. And actually, Wide Days last year, we had a whole ramp thing for one of the artists that was performing. I tried to make Bella and Jill accessible, but we didn't quite manage it, but we're still trying to manage it. A big collective of us trying to make those 7 steps smooth. My idea was just pour some concrete down it, but that didn't fly. So yes, basically ramps are a good way, a first step. Clear your toilets. So a lot of the time accessible toilets are used to store beer barrels, which this kind of defeats the purpose. And that will spread around the disabled community, and then they won't come because they know that's the situation. So the disabled community kind of chat about good places with good access and where to go and all of that. And just the more information you give, like photographs are the best thing. Even when I was coming here today, I had a little look at this space, and I was trying to zoom in on the photograph to see what it was like. But, you know, a few more photographs can give the information, and then somebody can make the decision whether they can come or not. So if you give the information to disabled people, they'll make the decision whether they feel they can come. Yes. It's positives now, guys. That was the negatives. Some positives. So Drake Music Scotland, we worked on 2 years ago, the first commercial album to showcase disabled composers working in the UK. So we all went down to Cardiff and recorded the album, and the artists have had very varying access requirements, and we had to do a lot of improvising, and it was a lot to juggle, but it was the attitude of the people we were working with that really made the difference. And they were really open. They said, like, what do you need? What can we do? You know, and it wasn't like the perfect, fully accessible recording studio or whatever, but because of their attitude, we were welcomed in, and then, you know, we were just worked through all the problems in a creative way. Available to download some contemporary, beautiful music if you want, called Letting the Light In. Another sort of success is at the Queen's Hall in Edinburgh. We worked with them we had a campaign that said, "Let me on stage," and that was all about performers getting up to the stage. So without a sort of 100-foot ramp that goes out the door. So this is like a hand crank lift, basically. A mobile lift CX is the official thing. And Queen's Hall, again, work with us, and it's not the most perfect accessible place, but they work with us and they ask us questions, and they're really willing to keep trying. And I think that's the main thing. We've done a lot of work with Cryptic Nights, which was at the CCA. Obviously, the CCA is going through some stuff, but we've worked with them a lot, and we have a kind of a slot every year that our artists can be on stage and have a little residency for a couple of days. And again, they're very open, they listen, they try. So yeah, this is Sean Logan. He's wearing like a suit that's has his movements through the music in his bodysuit. I don't understand the technical parts of it, but it's basically Miu Miu gloves, but for the body, if that makes any sense to anybody. Yeah, I've got 5 minutes. I'll just quickly go through. We've got nothing to do with Transmit, but it's a really, really brilliant access. And me and my brother and my sister go, my brother's a wheelchair user with cerebral palsy, and we go every year, and they are really gold standard. Obviously, they have a whole bunch of money behind that, but it's like the main thing is they have done a lot of research and a lot of work to figure out what makes it feel easy. So, and again, it's their attitude. You talk to anyone and they're just like, "Hiya, what's up? Like, can I help you?" It's all about that kind of good vibes. You don't feel like an inconvenience, or you feel totally celebrated, and it's totally right on. This last slide, Olaf from my days gave me a list of what he thought we should tell you about. It was quite a lot of information, but just some really good points. So he's talked about publishing your stage times to allow people to plan their evening. A sign about strobe lighting basically means that that's not going to work for a lot of people. So he was saying they don't actually use strobes in any of their shows anymore. Arranging for other venues, if you don't have an accessible toilet or changing places toilet, that you could ask another venue to kind of host your people so they can go across the road, which is a good idea. Yeah, training your staff to just be open and listening, and be curious, and clear signage, accessible parking, or at least if you know somewhere that looks flat-ish, you know, it's sort of very common sense stuff. And your website, you know, having a look at that, seeing if there's anything you could do there. And yeah, having a little fridge for store medicine and food and drink. But I think the main thing is attitude. You know, all of these things, and good signage and the best colors to use, etc. It's actually about, do you care? Are you giving that vibe off? You know, you're not going to be able to fix everything. I'm not going to be able to fix accessibility in venues in 15 minutes, but it's about being open and listening and being curious and trying. So that's it, really.